another edition of the Eternal Spirit Show with me, Paul Salmon, and with me today is spiritualist medium Christina Green.
Hello and good morning.
It is a good morning.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you again.
And lovely to see you.
Because we met on my radio show, but now they can all see you. And
Poor
me.
Poor them.
Now I introduced you as a spiritualist medium.
Yep.
Does that suit you? I mean, there isn't a definition, is there? Some say psychic mediums.
I believe that I'm a spiritualist medium.
Yeah.
I'm a mediator for spirit.
Yeah.
I don't like the word psychic because it's not psychic to me. It's mediumistic.
I just think a lot of public tend to know what psychic means more than spiritualist, but I prefer the term spiritualist medium.
Yep, absolutely
so
too.
That's who we are, folks. Now, Christina's written a book, They're Only a Breath Away, by Christina Green. Is that you on the cover? That must be you.
That is, it's me.
It's about you, isn't
girl,
it?
Yeah.
So tell us what the book's about.
It's my biography from when I was a child. It started when I was a child. I suppose about 18 months old, and I was actually resuscitated because I was very sick. And on the third time they said to my father there was nothing more they could do for me. And my dad wouldn't give up. So he kept saying, please don't stop trying. And then I took a breath.
Oh, hence the title.
Absolutely. I took a breath, and when I came back, I came back a different girl altogether. The little girl that went to Spirit was quite bright, walking at 10 months, potty trained actually by sort of about 12 months, quite early.
Yeah.
But when I came back, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even walk.
Couldn't you?
No. But what I did come back with was my friends.
I'm saying couldn't you, but I've read it twice, so I do know this, what's in it. So tell me a bit
it
more
goes
about the
through,
book.
as I said, goes through my life as a child, right the way through. I used to have a nun used to visit me, and she used to come to me at night, and she'd tell me stories, things that was going to happen. And one of the saddest things, what she told me, my dad was going to go away, and so I used to cry. And my dad used to come into my bedroom, sit on the bed, and I'd say, "Don't leave me, Daddy." And he said to me, "I'd never leave you. I'm not going anywhere." But in fact he did, he died. I was 12 years old when he passed the spirit. And it was unexpected because he was unwell, but he wasn't sort of like, didn't go to the doctors, didn't see anyone. And he was on holiday, and he collapsed on holiday and rushed into hospital. And when he got into hospital, he was actually hemorrhaging, bless his heart. And they kept him in for a little while, took him down to operating theatre, opened him up, closed him up, sent him home. And he came home April the 5th, literally a day before my 12th birthday. And I remember him saying to me, "What a horrible birthday it is for you." But you know, I was quite a grown up little girl, and I used to say, "Dad, it was the best present just to have you home." But he lasted 10 days and he died.
But this book goes a lot further than just your dad, doesn't it?
Oh my God, yeah, it goes right the way through, you know. I mean, right in the beginning with my seeing spirit, my visitations used to come, premonitions, used to see things, used to tell my family about the things. But as I said, the deepest memory of me was actually my father, because of being told that he was going to leave me.
And that made a big impact on your life.
Oh my God, yeah, of course it did. I mean, it was frightening because every time I had a visit, I always think something else bad was going to happen, you know.
Well, I must say, I've never read a book like this, I must admit, and I read it in one sitting, from the beginning to the end. And I don't want to say, I don't know if I enjoyed it or not. I must have enjoyed it to carry on reading it, but like it starts off with a bit of bad news, and I'm not going to say too much about the book, go and buy it yourself. But it's tragic. Let's just say it's difficult. I don't want to say bad, but it starts off difficult from page 1, if you like, and it carries on. And why I kept reading it is I felt like I got to know you in your book, and I wanted to see some good news, if you like, and I wanted to encourage you. Come on, Christina. But it went from difficult to tragedy.
It went from literally from after my father passing to going even further downhill. My mother was an alcoholic, and as from the day I was born, she used to say, you know, literally, she didn't want me. She didn't want me.
I know, I found that hard to
She didn't want me. She wanted boys because she lost her son literally 15 years before me. And funny, it's like I was an accident, and I think she was hoping that her son would come back, because I was a girl. And of course, I was told I've got an elder sister, and who told me the story that my father was whitewashing their kitchen. And when the phone call came, because those days they went at the hospital and saying that my mother had a girl, my father actually turned to my older sister and said, "Mum's not going to be very happy."
No.
So even from the time I was brought into this world, you know, it was like, you know, she's not going to be happy, and life was going to not be that good for me.
No.
But as I said, I did have my spiritual friends, which I think they actually kept me quite sane.
We'll talk about those in a minute. What made you write the book?
Because I wanted people to realise out there that I understand how they feel and the pains they've gone through, and also the feeling of loss that I've also suffered myself. And in a way, I suppose I'm still 12 years old, because my father is still very, very deep past me. And I just really wanted to get people to read this, get to know the real Christina and what she's really all about. Because people look at me and straight away think, you know, she's had an easy life, or, you know, not a hard life. Many times people said to me and looked at me and go, "You must have had an easy life." In fact, until they read the book, they would understand I haven't.
Well, working as a medium, or spiritualist medium, you pass messages on from those who, to people on the earth. You can now empathise, can't you, with so many people, and they do get an understanding about how you can empathise and about your background. And how long did it take you to write?
I suppose from, I would say roughly about a year, literally about a year. Because putting things together, I'd write like little tiny things down in a book, just odd things and sort of stuff. So it was sort of over the time, I thought, well, it's now time actually to do something about it, because I really wanted people to know me.
Well, I've got to know you.
Yeah.
Now, instead of mentioning it at the end of the show, let's mention it now. How can the people get a hold of your copy of the book?
Well, you see, I am a spiritualist medium.
Yeah.
I am a church medium. That's my main thing. Yeah. I do take my books with me when I go to the churches, so they can also pick one up at the churches, or they could actually email me, and because it's not in the bookshops.
You have got a website?
Yes, I have, but I'll be honest with you, I can't remember.
I'll tell you what to do. Just type in a search, Christina Green, spiritualist medium. Yeah.
I think that's a good
No,
idea.
find it.
Yes.
Or get in touch with me at Felix Stowe TV.
Yeah, that's it. So, and then maybe sort of go through PayPal or something like that, and I will send it to them.
Tell me how was it your granddad's grave you found?
Yes, I did.
Just tell us that bit. That's interesting.
My grandfather, again, I didn't know my grandfather. I knew nothing about my grandfather, but again, from a small child, I used to have this dream. It was a reoccurring dream over and over again, and it was visiting a hospital with the old green doors and the corridors. And in my dream, I would end up going to one main door, which must have been the office at that time, and then finding, well, just walking around the hospital.
Yeah.
And then one day, it was years later, I had looking for a telephone number in a book, and I found this number. It was a family, and again, it was one of these things. And my sister called them up as well, and we sort of went to a funeral. And at the funeral, my grandfather was mentioned. Now, my father never spoke about my grandfather. It was like, hush, hush, sort of thing. And of course, the name was mentioned.
Yeah.
So I've gone home, and again, it's got to be spirit. I've gone in the Yellow Pages and looked for a hospital in Epping, and headed to there, telephoned them, and they looked in the old archives and said, yes, we did have this gentleman here, you know. So I said, could I come and see you? She said, well, probably haven't got any of the records. I need to come and see you. So my elder sister and myself went along to the hospital. As we got to the hospital, I said to my sister, it's this way. She said, well, how do you know? You've never been here before. I said, I have.
Yeah.
I have. I said, in my dream, I know every corridor, every doorway. And as we went round the corner, I said, this is where the office is. And as we walked in, there was a nurse, or whatever you call a sister, and she said to me, you must be grieving, or you must be something or other, you know. So I said to her, no, it's a dream, and I need to find my grandfather. My older sister said, she's in love with a ghost, who's been a part of me for so long. So, of course, she must have thought I was a nutcase. She's phoned actually the vicar and of the hospital. He's come along, and he's sat down with me, and he's trying to say to me, you know, oh, I just had a baby, I just had a baby. So I was sort of going through all these hormone changes, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I know where my grandfather's buried. And he looked at me and he said, if you know, he said, I'll get in the car with me. He said, we'll drive around and you tell me where to stop. Of course, it was all these open fields and we're driving around. I went, stop, stop, stop. I said, he's there. And he went, oh my God. He said, that's the old burial ground. Now, there was nothing there. It was just a field and 2 trees. Well, in my dream, I always saw these 2 trees. The 2 trees. So I knew that's where he was. So he got out, across the field, literally, he said a prayer, and he said to put him to rest, but to me, as I said, you know, sorry, but I don't believe in that, you know, there's spirit world. And he said a prayer, and that was about it, really. But I found my grandfather.
Fascinating. You just knew, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew where he was. But as I said, the dream stopped then and everything, so in a way I was a little bit like he was calling me, he needed me to go there, because his own life was very sad, my grandfather. He was put into a mental home, bless him, but it was because he was having epileptic fits. And if you go back to the time when he was those age, you know, they didn't know anything about it, so they used to stick him away. And he didn't have any visitors or anybody, so it was quite sad.
Growing up as a child, being aware of spirit, could you talk to your parents about it?
No. Well, as I said, with my father, it was good because I used to say to him, I had this nun used to visit me and she used to tell me this. He never poo-pooed it, he never. But my mother would like, oh, for goodness sake, you know, used to sort of...
Did she shut you away somewhere?
That was when I was a little girl, when I used to have what she used to call fits and stuff like that. They weren't fits. She used to be so horrible sometimes that I used to have blackouts, literally. And like, well, she said I'd hold my breath and stuff like that. And her way of doing it was just to put me in a cupboard. Shut me away, or down the basement, just to shut me up, you know. But she also used to, well, I ended up seeing a psychiatrist because she thought I was a nutty because I see these people.
But did you have anyone to talk to about your visitations?
I used to talk to my younger sister, Linda.
Okay.
And it was my Lou, as I used to call her, my Lou. We used to talk about all sorts of things like, did your nun visit you tonight? And, you know, or can't find my shoes, could you ask your nun where my shoes are? So, very close to my sister.
I want to move
my
on.
Best friend.
Let's move on to your work, because you work in churches as a spiritualist medium. How long has it been going on? Okay, well, the thing is, it was only till after my sister's passing, my younger sister's passing, that I decided to go along to a spiritualist church. Though I knew my sister was around me, but I needed also, like any medium, we know they're there, but it's also nice to have a little message. And I was in my home, and I was in the sort of the dining room area. And I was sitting there, and I asked Lou, I said, are you here with me, Lou? And all of a sudden I felt an arm, like a really warm touch of an arm, so I knew she was there, but I thought, she needs to tell me something, So I went along to a spiritualist church. As I went in the spiritualist, I sat down, and there was an elderly gentleman sitting to the side of me, and there's a medium, and she's going along and she's talking to people, and I said to her, why isn't she talking and mentioning the child that's sitting with her? And he looked at me and he said, there's no child there. I said, there's a child sitting with her. And in the next breath, the medium turned around and said, oh, by the way, you have a young boy sitting with you. And I knew straight away, this is my calling. This is where I was supposed to be. And after that, it was like, since Lou went over, she was saying to me, come on, you know, when I was here, I used to tell me things, premonitions, things was going to happen. I used to phone her, and she said, it's time for you to work. Or she used to say to me, have I heard from Mum or Dad, you know. And then I joined a circle. I was in that circle for about 4 weeks. Explain what a circle is.
Okay.
For those who don't know.
It's for people, you know, like if you feel that you have sort of a psychic links or a connection, you go into a circle and they try to help you connect to the other side.
So it's a group of like-minded people get together to...
To interact, sort of thing, you know, meditation and stuff like that.
To connect to the spirit world.
But because not everybody does. I mean, it's, you know, but it's nice. It's a feeling of a get-together, as you say, people of the same sort of mind. But I wasn't. They sort of how can I put it? I was chucked out.
Oh, really?
Sort of. Yes, because I never followed the teacher.
Right.
And used to go around the circle and they used to say, okay, you know, what have you seen? And somebody would go, oh, I've been flying around the sky, I've been doing this, or I've been doing that. I was supposed to follow the teacher. Well, I didn't. As soon as it came to me, so Christina, what did you see? And I go, I saw a man called Peter. She went, you're not here to give messages. So I said, well, I can't help it. And of course, back up, I think, to be honest with you. So in the end, what she did, she put me on a test. She got a medium to come in a well-known sort of medium come in and sit me in a circle, actually in the middle, blindfolded me, put somebody stand behind me, and then use their voice, but then she would go over somebody's head and go like that, and I wouldn't see them because I'm blindfolded, and it's all going on behind me. And she said, her voice would say, so I've got somebody here, they're not going to talk to you. She said, I'll say yes or no for you. And she said, and they will tell you, and I will nod if you're correct. Can you give them a message? So I saw this lady, and I saw quite a cuddly lady, curly hair, and I said, oh, I've got a lady here, Mum, she's saying Mum, and I said, she said, you put a rose on her grave today. Of course, the person behind nodded, so the medium, the sort of famous medium turned around and said, they're saying yes, they're saying yes. So I took my blindfold off and then stuck me to the advanced. Oh, right. Straight from a little beginner, 4 weeks, straight to the advanced. But again, I didn't stay in the advanced because I was asked by a medium, a full-time medium, if I would accompany them on to a church service because they didn't have a car. So. And it took off from there. Yeah. But you live in Kent, don't you? I do. Do you work? So people can come and see you. Let's start again. Whereabouts do you work? All over the country? Well, I'm not all over the country because I'm, at the moment, as I said, it's churches and centres, business spiritual work. Most of my work is Kent and Essex. I've recently sort of headed Suffolk and into Norfolk. So I'm still a baby, if you understand me. But hopefully and pray. Well, let's get you known in Felixstowe anyway. No? Start working here. And you have a website. What about, have you worked abroad? Never. Never? Never. Would you like to? I hope so, in the future, I've got to travel with you. Have you? Being a medium myself. Oh, was that a holiday we booked? Oops. Sorry. I'm moving on. So how do you work? You see, because mediums, if you didn't know at home, mediums work in different ways. How do you work? You obviously see. I see, I hear, I feel. And you feel. What do you feel? How do you feel? Like if they come through and they've passed with a heart attack, I feel like chest pains, or I can't breathe. If it's cancer, this is the funny thing, if it's a cancer passing, it always affects my throat, always. Does it? So I have like a sort of a croaky voice, I'll clear my throat, so I know that it's a cancer passing. The other thing is emotions, like if that person was quite an emotional person, or if it was a suicide, it's to do with the feeling of them. You understand what I'm trying to say, you know, and that's what I say by feel. Now you work in churches, but do you do private readings as well? I do. I have done a lot for the churches. I do private readings for the churches and bits and pieces. And I'm hoping, as I said, as time goes on, I'm going to be more doing as a private one-to-one. What's the biggest crowd you've not played to? You don't play to a crowd, do you? Congregational. At the moment, it's 160. Would you like to work in a big theatre? Like some mediums do. Yeah, in the future, hopefully. We haven't done at Felixstowe, you know, at the Spa Pavilion. I am me. And, you know, I will never change. So, because my feeling, I'm here to help people. And it'd be nice if I do the theatre. But I'm not here, as I said. You're not here as an actress or performer. You're here as to show about life. To prove life after life. If I can, as I said, if I can make one person happy, you know, you've done your job. I've done my job. So I'm not really looking for fame. No. But even if something did take off, to me, my first priority will be the people. There's no doubt about that in my heart. You know. I mean, going back to your book, it is an honest book. I don't think I could write it. I don't think I could let everyone know about my details. Yeah, I understand. I needed to do it. It's something I needed to do because my feelings, as I said, I was given this, okay, and I have also, forgive me, it's not been the easiest of life. I've suffered. And I really want to tell people, you're not alone. That's the most important, you know. Spirit world are with us, but it's not just that. You're not alone, emotional, physically. I honestly do understand. And it's like, you know, I know you're a man, but if it's a midwife, it's like if you're a midwife, yes, and they've never had children. Or a health visitor, they never had children, but they're trying to tell you how to look after children. So to me, I can understand what you're going through and how you're feeling, and that's why I wrote the book. to get to know the real Christina Green, not the Christina.
Right. So you don't mind me mentioning the self-harming
Not at all.
that you write about?
Not at all.
Okay. Why did you do self-harm?
As a child, so fair enough, because I couldn't deal with emotion, because everybody else was around me was hurting me.
Yeah.
So I'd hurt myself, and this is one of the biggest, again, one of my charities that for the Samaritans, because again it's taboo. It's like people don't talk about it, or there's something wrong with her. She's sick, or you get shouted at for doing it. Now, yes, self-harming has been a very big part of my life. My own sister committed suicide. She was a self-harmer too. Yes, it's so. No, I'm not worried about it.
No.
I would speak and say to anyone, yes, you know, I have self-harmed, and you know, it's to deal with emotions. I can't hurt you. I couldn't hurt you, and if I felt I hurt you, then the person I feel I have to take it on myself, as to punish myself. But again, I still think that stems from as a child, because a lot of my life was innocent, and I'd be blamed for things. Being alive, being blamed for being alive, being blamed really for being my mother, being left with 2 kids. You know, if we weren't here, she could got on with her life.
I found it a very emotional book. Like when you self-harmed in the subway, on the underpass.
I used to run away and used to break glass and cut glass, use legs, and just used to cut myself a lot. I used to spend a lot of time under the underpasses and subways.
You see, anyone seeing this now, if they're self-harming, they could dissociate with you.
Absolutely.
Or they might want to come and see you and you can help. And what's the charity you work for?
Well, I'm doing it for the Samaritans, okay, but actually when I do my evening of clairvoyances, I actually put self-harming awareness, because I want people to be aware of the self-harmers and how they're suffering, because they really are suffering. It's so, the people that self-harm, to be honest with you, have so much love and emotion inside. And it's usually other people that hurt, and I'm not saying families, it could be other reasons, bullying and other things, so they'll go home and they have to hurt themselves, and they feel so totally alone. So what I want to do is actually make people aware that self-harming is not to be tabooed. In fact, you know, you should literally put the person aside, talk to them nicely, don't shout at them. If you scream and shout at them, they would actually self-harm even more, because they blame themselves. And suicide's another thing. I don't know if you realise this, but a lot of suicides as well don't actually want a suicide. It's when they take their pain off just for a little while, just for a while. And sometimes it just goes too far. Yeah,
cry for help.
It's a cry for help.
Should we change the subject a little bit?
Yes, of course.
Because you mentioned about ghosts. We film ghost hunts. I hate that word hunt, you know, but we've got to let the public know what we do. Ghost searching maybe, but you've seen ghosts, haven't you?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Tell me 1 or 2.
Well, it's usually ghost. I mean, as a child, we go for my nan, yes? And solid is you and I. And when you're children, you do see solid. And as you sort of you get older, then what you see is like an outline, or to me it's like a projection image. But I've also seen, as I've got older, solid forms, sometimes just the legs, okay, not the whole torso. You know?
Why would that be?
Do you know, I honestly don't know. I can't answer that one.
Because someone else said to me the other week they saw a pair of legs, and I thought, well, where's the
No, seriously, no, because it's like, you know, this person ran up my stairs, literally ran up my stairs, and I was washing up, and I thought it was my son that was in the living room, and I actually shouted at him, and because I asked him to do the hoovering, not proud, so I asked him to do the hoovering for me. Of course, I heard the hoover in the living room, and I shouted at Neil, I said, why did you go upstairs and leave the hoover on? He said, I'm not, I'm in the living room. Because my brain has seen this man run up my stairs, but it was after, when my son walked up the stairs, I could see all of my son. Even the man was very tall, and I only saw the bottom half of him.
Do you think it's someone who lived in that house beforehand?
Oh my God, yeah, well the story goes, when I first moved in, I was very aware that I was being watched all the time, and it was a very negative feeling, but because it was a council house, you know, you beggar can't be choosy, you had to live there, full stop. And I was aware all the time, very negative. Things used to go off, music boxes, the toys used to go off. In the middle of the night, someone used to sit bang on my bed and used to wake me up. Now my children were only young, and the lights used to go on in the hallway, and I'd go out in the hallway and turn them off 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I think the most uncomfortable time was when you're half asleep, and I went to go to the toilet, and somebody actually dragged me in, and I automatically thought it was my oldest son in there, and he wasn't in there. So it was after I found out also the elderly lady, my daughter, come downstairs and said, Mum, Nanny's on the floor upstairs, dead.
No.
She's got blood coming out of her mouth. That was my daughter. So, of course, I said, don't be silly, darling, you're dreaming. And then the following day, I had actually a knock on the door, you weren't going to believe this, from somebody who's come to fumigate my house. Now, I've been living in my house at that time for a year. And when he looked at the chippy, on the thing he had, he said that somebody had actually passed in the house, but it was a year ago.
Oh,
and that's how I knew that this passing in the house. So I asked my neighbour, and she went, yes, she said, we used to have an elderly lady, and she'd been dead 3 months before anyone found her, but her own son committed suicide in that house. And that was the man, I feel, that ran up my stairs. But he was very negative man, very negative because of what things he was doing. And the other thing was, my son at the time was about 14, 15. He woke up in the middle of the night, actually in a lot of pain, and down his back there was big scratch marks.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Literally big scratch marks. Yeah. And then there was a time when he came down and said, who did you have stay last night, Mum? And I said, I didn't have anyone stay. He said, well, some man, I'm not going to swear, came up and said, wake up, you lazy so-and-so, and get down and help your mother. Yeah. So it's the same man. And this is the same man I saw go up my stairs, just his legs.
Now, as a medium, do you switch on and switch off?
I can do.
I know some some mediums are fully open and see spirit every day.
No, I switch off. I can do it because it's something I've been born with.
Yeah.
You know, I can literally sit with somebody and then, like I say, I call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I call them in my head, and then I can see them or speak to them. Or if I'm driving the car, I'll ask them, you know, who's going to be there. Literally, you know, I can actually see people that I need to give a message to, because I know this side is saying to me, this person's going to be here, or that person's going to be there.
Fantastic. Before we go, what's the future hold for Christina Green?
I want to carry on my work.
Yeah.
I want to help as many people as I can. You know, I always say this, if I can't help myself, for as long as I live on this earth plane, I'm going to help as many people as I can. And as I said, if it does get to the theatres, wonderful. If it does get into the TV, wonderful. But my first priority, and it'll always be, is for the people.
Life after life.
Absolutely.
Christina, it's been a delight and a pleasure having you as my guest today.
Lovely speaking to you then.
And thanks for watching. See you again next week.